What up, what up, what up? Welcome in to the From Beyond the Paign podcast. I'm Cody. You can follow me on Twitter at Cody_CHGO. And this tone of voice comes to you from a surprised and ecstatic Illini fan, folks. As everyone knows, I love the Chicago Cubs, and they are the reason that I get paid these days. But Illinois basketball is my second favorite team, my second love. And for the most part, over the last 5 years, Illinois has been the only thing that makes me smile, which isn't saying much because it's not like they've won a national championship or anything like that. But they're always competing. They've been competing atop the Big Ten for the last 4 years. So, to bring it back around, it is the vibes are good considering how I felt 3 weeks ago about Illinois. The vibes are good. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about my weekend in Knoxville for Illinois, Tennessee. Talk about the FAU game a little bit. And then we'll do around the Big Ten. We'll try and do this show in maybe 45 minutes, maybe an hour, depending if we get a lot of comments. If a lot of people tune in, share their thoughts, maybe we'll stick around a little bit longer. I have all the time in the world tonight. Or this show might end early if the Cubs decide to make a trade or sign someone and I have to go do my actual job. So I guess we'll pay attention to that too. So I do want to address some of the comments that I've read based off the last video or podcast, the last podcast. So I just want to put this out there, all right? This podcast, it is strictly for fun. It is because I love Illinois basketball. I'm hoping to grow it. I'm hoping to get better at it. I'm not sitting here acting like I know exactly what I'm doing all the time. The people that I work with at CHGO, the producers, all that, they are so talented and they make our brand look so good. All this stuff with this, it's all me. It's just me. I'm making these thumbnails, all this stuff. It's just me and Canva and the fact that I have access to a website that allows me to get some of the best pictures taken at Illinois basketball games, okay? So with that said, there were a few comments saying, like, some people were, like, putting me down because I didn't watch an entire game or something like that, or I didn't go back and watch an entire game. I think it was one of the podcasts where I wasn't able to watch one of the two games or whatever in the week stretch. Again, this isn't like a full-time job for me right here, guys. I have other obligations, and it was a non-conference game. I don't know why anyone gave a shit, but I'm just letting y'all know, like, I'm trying to give my all with this. I'm doing it with the most that I can. It's not like I came on here and completely shredded the team for this or that or whatever. Obviously, came into the season a little bit more pessimistic, but just some comments I just didn't understand, like people calling me like lazy or something like I just didn't. I don't like. I'm being completely upfront with y'all. Like I'm trying the best I can, considering this is not my full-time job. So I will say that if you know what I do for a living, you would know that I was unable to watch the FAU Illinois game at all, literally at all, because I was at the winter meetings in Nashville. All right. I will say this. I spent about 35 minutes this evening catching up on highlights from that game and following how that game transpired in terms of how the game, the flow went with lead changes and stuff like that. I will say that I did do that. I wish I could have watched the game, guys. Considering Illinois won 98-89, I wish I could have watched the game. Instead, I was sitting in a hotel in Nashville, Tennessee, praying that the Cubs would do something, and also doing our show, because I believe they were playing when we did our show. We did our show at 7 p.m. that night, and Illinois was playing. So there was no way I could watch that game at all. So just putting that out there that, like, I'm not expecting y'all to – I'm not expecting the people who are criticizing this thing already to, like, I don't know, change their minds. I'm not even really trying to change your mind. I'm just saying that I know I'm not perfect. I know that this is going to take some time to build if it turns into anything. At the end of the day, this is just fun. I'm just trying to communicate with other Illini fans. That's literally all I'm trying to do. and watch the games. I originally started doing this based off just doing live streams on my YouTube channel, watching a game, and then I decided that I wanted to talk about it too. So, again, bear with me. I guess that's what I'm trying to get at. Also, Furman and Tulane. If you're in the CHGO Discord, you would know that I put Furman plus 7.5, and I had the over in that game. It's 85-85, folks. I'm pretty sure if math checks out, I think the over hit, and Furman's covering that 7.5 with a minute and a half to go. So if you're a CHGO diehard, you're welcome. All right. Shout out to Chris in the chat. He's always in the CHGO Cubs YouTube chat. For my friends in Champaign, I shall support the pod. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, Chris. Okay. Let's start with Illinois FAU. Again, I wish I could have watched this game live. When I saw the box score after this game, I couldn't believe it. All right. I felt like maybe there was a letdown coming after the huge win at Rutgers. But there was no letdown. They went to Madison Square Garden and won 98-89. That's another thing. I apologize. I will own up to this on the last podcast. I completely forgot that Illinois and FAU were playing at Madison Square Garden. That's on me. I'm sorry. I did. If you watched it all the way through, I did say that I did realize it. I think someone said it in the chat, and I corrected myself. That was all the way through. So if you stopped listening in the middle of it or whatever because I just didn't know it was at Madison Square Garden, then I'm sorry again. So I'm recognizing that I got that wrong. All right? So Illinois goes into Madison Square Garden and dominated FAU last week. Well, not dominated. It was close. They actually trailed at halftime. They trailed 42-39 at halftime, and then they won 59-47 in the second half. It was a high-scoring game, obviously. I guess the thing we need to start with is Terrence Shannon Jr. and Marcus Damask in this game. I mean, both of them put up 33 points. When was the last time two Illini players put up 30-plus points in a game? I honestly could not tell you. I have no idea. Also, I have a Colorado Rockies cup that I got in Denver. That's why I have this. All my cups are dirty. I need to wash them. Damask, 15 for 21 from the field, 2 for 6 from 3, 33 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. 1 turnover. Terrence Shannon Jr., 10 for 14 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3. He went 11 for 13 from the free throw line. That's beautiful. 33 points, 2 assists, 1 block, 1 rebound. That's absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I couldn't believe that that's how they won, with 2 guys putting up 33 points each. There wasn't much from anyone else. Hawkins had 9 points. Justin Harmon off the bench, who's starting to show like he's starting to grow into his role. I feel like these last handful of games. 10 points off the bench. This was a signature win for Illinois, right? FAU was ranked number 11 in the country going into this game. Illinois ranked number 20. Obviously, this week they're now ranked the number 16 team in the country. I think this win over FAU helped them get a nice little boost in the AP rankings, despite the loss at Tennessee, which we'll get to. When, if you've been watching or listening to this podcast since it started, I have been screaming about the lack of being able to make free throws and turnovers. In this game, Illinois went 18 for 20 from the free throw line, guys. 18 for 20. I need more of that. 18 for 20 from the free throw line, guys. They turned it over 14 times, but FAU turned it over 13 as well. So they lost their turnover battle, but it was pretty close. It wasn't some big deficit, all right? And they shot 8 for 20 from 3. So they've had games where they've jacked up well over 30 3-pointers and shot worse than this. 8 for 20. It's 40% from the field. This was far at this point when they played this game. This was far and away the best game they played. And the game against Rutgers, they started out hot, then got cold, let Rutgers back in the game before half, but then took off in the second half. This game, they trailed at half. FAU led most of the first half, and then a huge run in the second. Illinois went on a huge run in the second half to basically win this game. It was closer at the end. It was not a 10-point or 11-point game. 11-point deficit for FAU in the final 10 minutes. It was a lot closer. But Illinois making their free throws is huge. I can't get over it that they went 18 for 20 from the free throw line. What is this Illinois team, bro? What is this Illinois team? So I will game ball. We want to do game balls around here. I will give the entire team a game ball for making their free throws. Terrence Shannon Jr., 11 for 13. It helps that Dane Danger didn't shoot any free throws at all. But yeah, it's mainly because of Terrence Shannon Jr. He's the only one who had more than 2 free throw attempts. But listen, man, they did the little things and I feel like over the last year, like last year's team, they just didn't do the little things a lot. They miss free throws. They jack up too many threes when they weren't making them. Turn the ball over a ton. I feel like over this stretch in December so far, they've done the little things. They've done the little things. So this was a huge win, man. I went to bed that night and was like, man, Cubs didn't do anything, but shit, Illinois basketball, they beat Tennessee, and I really will talk myself into a Final Four run. Am I right? All right. We got a few comments in the chat. Let's recognize them. S. Baptist says, Illinois fans piss me off. Sometimes we all just want people to talk about the team we love, but then some fans give crap to people for not doing it the way they want. Love to hear you talk Cubs and Illini. Hey, I appreciate it, dude. I appreciate it. I was just trying to acknowledge that, hey, I'm not perfect, and I'm just trying to do something for fun. Trying to, because I have a little bit of, most of my following on Twitter are Cubs fans, but with being a Cubs fan, a lot of people are Illini fans since it's in Illinois. So I wanted to do something for the people who follow me because I'm an Illini fan. So I appreciate the nice comment though. Derek Wade says, with a Dwayne Wade picture, by the way, it's a very young picture of Dwayne Wade. Illinois almost beat Purdue at Mackey last season. They have the best players to press in the Big Ten. Hopefully they use it a little sooner this time. Yeah, so the headline in this one is Purdue and Illinois the favorites to win the Big Ten? And, we'll get to that a little bit later, but right now they both look like the top 2 teams in a conference. That's basically where I sit with Illinois right now and Purdue. The Big Ten overall has not looked great. They've had some good wins. They've also had some bad losses. For example, Northwestern losing to Chicago State last night. But to reverse it, Wisconsin beat Marquette like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, something like that. So it just feels like it's going to be another season where the Big Ten just beats up on itself. And we're all just going to go into March with some optimism that maybe the conference will do well and we'll all be out before the Sweet 16. But I always try to think optimistically about it because I do think this conference, a lot of people say it's overrated, but I don't when people say that the Big Ten is overrated, I feel like they're just saying that it's bad. The conference isn't bad. Perhaps are they overrated? I thought last year they put too many teams from the Big Ten in the NCAA tournament, and it showed. So credit to me for saying that. All right. I'm going to pull up the Illinois-Tennessee game up here on my iPad. And while I do that, let me tell y'all, dude, if you've never been to Knoxville I wouldn't imagine any of you to be Volunteer fans or anything like that. But Knoxville, the college scene or the campus there, it's super nice. we went to a bar after the game. It's called Cool Beans. Um, it was far and away my favorite spot that we went to while I was there. I went with a buddy I went to college with and two guys that we both, well, he still works with them and I used to work with them as well. Um, yeah, I highly recommend going down to Knoxville if like your team, if you want to watch an SEC football game next fall there, or I think Tennessee's coming to Champaign next year, so I don't know if this is going to be like an everyday or an every year thing back and forth moving forward, but I yeah, I love Knoxville. Knoxville was a super nice college town, and I would totally go back. And the one thing that I really loved about it, especially on this weekend, was there were a ton of Illini fans who showed up for this game. A ton of Illini fans. We went to another. I can't remember the other bar that we went to, but we went into this bar well after the game ended, and it was like all Illini fans in there because they were all fans who traveled from Illinois. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Knoxville because I had such a good time going to the game. Their arena was super nice. It was cheap. All I had was a water, and me and my friends shared some popcorn. It was pretty cheap. I will say they need to add more stalls to their bathrooms. Like, we went into the men's bathroom, which had a long ass line. It had 2 urinals and 4 stalls, and I'm just like, you do realize you're an SEC school, right? You do realize that, right? There are a lot of people are going to come here. So that was weird, but that's my only gripe, was like the bathroom line was super long. But other than that, it was easy to get in and out. I actually met someone, like some random person who goes to Tennessee, who is also a Cubs fan. He like came up to me and told me to listen to the podcast. It was incredible. It was one of those wild things that happens that doesn't happen all the time. It was a very cool thing. All right. I have the box score up. Now, unlike the FAU game, I did watch this game because I was there. Did I watch it from my television? No. But I was literally basically almost by the student section. The ticket I paid for was way too expensive. But for my friends, I will do almost anything. All right. Illinois lost 86-79. I will say my favorite part of this game was the first half because Illinois led 36-34 at halftime, and then things kind of fell apart for about a 3-4 minute stretch in the second half, and Illinois was unable to recover. And they failed to cover too. I had a buddy who had them Illinois plus 6.5. They lost by 7. Fucking brutal, bro. My thoughts on this game, just from sitting in the stands, my thoughts on watching this game. Marcus Damask went from a 33-point outing against FAU to a 6-point outing where he went 2 for 11. He was 0-5 from 3. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that Marcus Damask needs to score 30 points a game, but it's clear that this team goes through Terrence Shannon Jr. and Marcus Damask. Unless Coleman Hawkins is going to, I guess, be more aggressive, do more work down low, is what I would like to see Coleman Hawkins do. Coleman Hawkins put up 10. He jacked up 10 3-point shots in this game. Not a fan. I'd love to see him do more down low, personally. Illinois did not shoot well from 3 in this one. They went 9 for 36. That's 25%. They did take a lot of threes. They were going down early. Guerrier, probably his best game, I would say, as an Illini. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, if you want to correct me if I'm wrong. But 22 points, 5 rebounds. Only 1 turnover. He shot 5 of 7 from the free throw line. He was 7 for 14 from the field, 3 of 8 from 3. I think he was around 3 for 4. I don't even know if he made a 3 in the second half, but he was a big reason why they led at halftime. And he kind of covered up the hole that Marcus Damask was not filling with points, because because Terrence Shannon Jr. and Damask really had quiet first halves. So to see that they had quiet first halves and Illinois still lead shows how deep this team can be if they're all clicking on all cylinders, right? So I kind of got like, to be honest with you, at halftime I was like, man, this team could completely flip the script with me if they go on to win this game. Because I'll say this, the environment in Knoxville was hostile. Some Tennessee fans behind me were very annoying. These Tennessee fans in front of me, they did not like me. It was like this old woman and her husband. They clearly look like they've been going to Vols games their entire life. I was joking around a lot, just like screaming, just being a dumb fan, nothing like crazy, but just being a dumb fan. And they kind of took it to heart. So I could tell that, I guess that their tone of orange runs through their veins, I guess. So, long story short, again, their crowd was hostile. It would have been a very, very impressive win if Illinois had gone into Tennessee and won this game. And because they beat Rutgers and because they beat FAU, I did not take this loss as hard as I probably would have if they had not beat FAU, at least. If they beat Rutgers and then lost FAU and then lost to Tennessee, I'd be taking it a lot harder because I felt like that Illinois needed to win at least one of those two games last week. And they did. They beat FAU. They played tough with Tennessee for about, 25 minutes of the 40. They tried to make a comeback late, but they couldn't hit shots when they absolutely needed to. They didn't get the production that they absolutely needed from, key guys. In this case, it's Marcus Damask. And it was kind of it was definitely overshadowed by Guerrier and Coleman Hawkins and Terrence Shannon Jr. I thought the bench played well in the first half. That's another reason why I felt like they played well. Luke Goody, 8 points, 2 of 5 from 3. He airballed 2 3-pointers. That was uncharacteristic. I didn't see that coming. But I thought he played good defense, and he finished with 7 boards, 2 steals. He did things outside of just being a 3-point shooter, and that's what Illinois needs from him. Justin Harmon, 2 of 4 from the field, 0 of 2 from 3, 4 points. Danger played a total of 4 minutes. He was not great. I don't know what his role is going to be. He can't make free throw. I don't want to jump to conclusions on Danger because I'm a fan of the guy. There's certain things about his game that I really enjoy, and then there's things about his game that make me want to pull my hair out. Anyway, yeah, I mean, and in the moment when they lost, I was upset because it's like you felt like you were right there, and you could have really been there to steal a win on the road. And Tennessee hadn't beat anyone significant on their schedule yet, so you knew Tennessee was going to come out and play as good as they could have. I can't pronounce Tennessee's that guard, Dalton something, Netch. I want to pronounce it as it's a Netch or Connect. I want to say it's Connect. 21 points, 7 of 14 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3. It felt like he definitely made more than 2 threes. But he led the Vols. All 5 starters in the game were in double digits. I think when people think of Tennessee, they think of Ziegler, who's like the point guard, who's like, is he even 6 feet tall? I don't know. 5'10", 5'11", super fast guard, could shoot the ball. He had 11 points, 4 assists. They shot 6 for 18 from 3. It's 33%. Still, like when you only make 6 threes, but you only shoot 18, it's not pretty. But when the other team shoots 36 and only makes 9, you can see why maybe Tennessee won this game, right? Illinois shot better than them from the free throw line. 2 straight games here where they have shot well from the free throw line. I don't remember how they did against Rutgers, but I want to say that it was actually pretty good too. So maybe 3 straight games. 24 of 28 from the free throw line. Tennessee shot 26 of 34 from the free throw line. Their missed free throws in the second half, especially in the final 10 minutes, it kept Illinois in this game. But something that has hurt Illinois, I feel like, so far in this like early part of the year, when they don't play well, even in that 6-game stretch just before they went and played Rutgers, turnovers. They've turned the ball over way too much. They only turned it over 14 times against FAU. I feel like their turnovers have gotten better. This game only 9. And Tennessee also only had 9. So turnovers didn't hurt them as much in this game. So, the free throws and the turnovers are getting better. You can't ask a team to shoot 40% from 3 every single night. However, it'd be super nice. So there isn't a lot to be mad about Illinois in this game. I just think you're going in a tough road environment. You're playing a really good team. Tennessee's ranked number 17 going into this game. And they got a win that they absolutely needed. I think if there's one thing I can complain about, and I was kind of talking to some people at CHO office this afternoon about this. My boss, Jake Flanagan, who's a huge Illini fan, I felt like there were multiple times where Illinois could have taken advantage of mismatches down low. There were so many times I felt like Ziegler was on Damask, or even Hawkins, and they would pass the ball out. Or there was multiple times where Damask would just, instead of just continuing to back him down, he would just do like some turnaround jumper, like, maybe 10, 15 feet out. And it's like, Ziegler is so small. Like, I feel like you should be able to back him down a little bit further and turn it into a layup or a jump hook or something like that. That was honestly the only thing that really bothered me the most about how the offense was ran. Other than that, I felt like the offense ran smoothly. I will say another thing that bothered me were the refs. The refs were not the greatest, but I don't feel like the refs were the greatest for either team. And that's just coming from my eyes watching in the stands. So I would love your thoughts on that in the chat if you have any. But let's see. We got a comment here. S. Baptist, it's encouraging that we are in these games against top 10 opponents, even when we play kind of bad. Yeah, I agree. There was like the Illinois lost this game in from the 15-minute mark of the second half until the 10-minute mark. That's when they did not play well. They missed shots. They turned the ball over, and Tennessee just made everything. Yeah, that's essentially what happened, right? So they tried to get back in it. Again, they lost by 7. They had chances to perhaps win this game, but they just couldn't make shots at the end when they absolutely needed to. And again, a lot of that comes from going 9 for 36 from 3. And again, Damask needed to play better. So I am not going to complain about it anymore. We are on to Colgate, folks. Also, if you've been watching this entire time, Furman and Tulane, it's 99-99 in overtime right now. So I'm actually hoping this game ends in the next 20 seconds. That way they cover that 7.5. But the over already hit. 73.5. I took the over. Credit to me. Shout out if you're in the CHO Sports Discord. Okay, so yeah, we're on to Colgate. They play Colgate at noon on Sunday. Colgate, I mean, they've made the NCAA tournament in recent years. They're a decent mid-major program, but I'm expecting Illinois to come back to the State Farm Center. And I checked this time. They do play at the State Farm Center on Sunday. I expect them to come back and bounce back, play a good game. I hope it's no letdown. I hope it's a good game for them to tune up, because the next game after that is Mizzou. I have to listen to Ryan Herrera at my job every day it feels like every day, at least once a week, tell me about how Mizzou has dominated Illinois in 3 of the last 4 bragging rights games. I've had to listen to it way too much. All right. Now, do I hate Mizzou? No, I just don't like the state of Missouri. I hate the state of Missouri. However, this is a bragging rights game. It is a rivalry game. I acknowledge that. And there have been great bragging rights games. So the way I'm looking at this game against Colgate is it's a tune-up game. Like come out and stomp on their throats. I can't freaking talk. Stomp on their throats on Sunday and get ready for this game against Mizzou, because this if there's something I can complain about the Brad Underwood era is the fact that they have not played well against Mizzou in his time as a coach. And last year especially was awful. From tip-off last year against Mizzou to the very end, Illinois never had a chance. Terrence Shannon Jr., Coleman Hawkins, Ty Rogers, Luke Goody. Luke Goody didn't play in that game, but guys that were on last year's team, those guys, I sure hope that they have not forgot how that game went and how that felt in St. Louis. All right. So I'm at the very least asking for a better effort against Mizzou. And Mizzou is a good team this year. So I'm not trying to, a lot of Mizzou fans came after me last year because I said their program is mediocre, and historically it legitimately is. They made the NCAA tournament last year for the first time in I forgot how many years, but they're not. They are historically not a good program, at least compared to Illinois. To me, Illinois should beat Mizzou every year based off how good Illinois is for college basketball and how good of a program they are and the type of recruits that they bring in. That's just how I feel about it. It has nothing against Mizzou. I just think they're a better program, and I think they're ran by a better coach. And yeah, it again has nothing to do with the fact that it's Mizzou. It's just I think that's a fact. And Illinois just hasn't shown that in recent games against Mizzou, and it's time. It's time to start playing better against Mizzou. I'm sorry. It's just, if that is the biggest thing outside of not making a Sweet 16 in the Brad Underwood era, is the biggest thing that has bothered me. The fact that we're not playing good against Mizzou. You go into every Big Ten season and beat up on Michigan, Michigan State, Wisconsin, and dominate conference, but you can't beat freaking Mizzou. Explain that to me like I'm 5 years old. All right, rant over. So we're about 32 minutes into the show. Let's see. I would say let's go around the conference. Big Ten. I mentioned Northwestern earlier, how they lost to Chicago State last night. Anyone remember when Illinois lost to UIC, I believe in like 2010 at the United Center here in Chicago? Because that's all I thought of whenever Northwestern lost to Chicago State. All right, I'm bringing up Northwestern right now, their schedule. I'm looking at them. Obviously, they have a really good win over Purdue, right? In Evanston at, I forget the name of the arena, Welsh Ryan Arena, right? And as we saw last year, it's tough to win or to play at Northwestern. So that's what makes their loss at home to Chicago State even more mind-blowing. But so far, Northwestern, they haven't played anyone. They played Dayton, which is a solid mid-major program. They beat them by 5. They lost to Mississippi State at home. Mississippi State is okay. But they beat Purdue. That's their best win on their resume and will undoubtedly help them make the NCAA tournament, which I do think they're an NCAA tournament team. They got DePaul and Arizona State, Jackson State, and then Illinois on January 2nd. I think they're going to bounce back against DePaul. Arizona State will be tough. It'll be tough against Arizona State, in my opinion. And then I think they'll probably beat Jackson State at home. But Northwestern comes to Illinois January 2nd. Last year was a really close game. If you remember, Illinois went to Northwestern in December last year, got just embarrassed. Honestly, they got embarrassed. Then they responded against them, I think, was it 1 or 2 overtimes? It was a really close game, but Illinois won that game to salvage the season series. So that's going to be a good game coming up. But right now, it's hard to tell what they are. I just think with them beating Purdue, it to me, I think they're a top 3 team in this conference right now. I think they're right there with Purdue and Illinois. Maybe that's a stretch. Maybe it's because Michigan State hasn't been impressive yet. They haven't got their shit together. We'll see. A lot of things can change. Let's go to the school I hate the most, Iowa. I fucking hate Iowa, folks. I hate Iowa. You know what sucks is that there are a lot of Iowa Cubs fans. There are a lot of Iowa Cubs fans, and I love them all dearly. I DM with some of them all the time talking about the Cubs, but anytime they bring up the Hawkeyes, all I can think about is how I bet the under on their football team and I bet the over on their basketball team. Iowa has not been good of late, folks. They've been bad. They just lost at home to Michigan by 10. They got pounded by Iowa State at Iowa State. It's a rivalry game, 90-65. They got pounded by Purdue, which a lot of teams are getting pounded by Purdue, except for Northwestern. So they've lost 3 in a row. They beat North Florida before that. They beat Seton Hall. They hung around with Creighton, and that's it. They haven't beat anyone. They haven't beat anyone of substance on their schedule. They haven't. Like, there's no one that they've beat, except for maybe Seton Hall. Maybe Seton Hall. Right now, I would not put this team in the NCAA tournament. It's the same thing with Fran McCaffrey every year. They're a very fast-paced team. They score a ton of points, but they don't defend. They are the complete opposite of Iowa's football team, folks. They should let Fran McCaffrey apply. You can literally go on the line and apply for the offensive coordinator position for Iowa's football team right now. I know it's a very long-winded joke, and it's probably well overstated, but I've just not been impressed by Iowa. I don't think Iowa should be getting into the NCAA tournament. They have no impressive out-of-conference wins, and they've had chances. Okay, they hung around with Creighton, but they didn't win. They lost by double digits at home to Oklahoma, and you got pounded by Iowa State. No, they got a lot of work to make up. And they'll get some love because they'll probably turn it on in the Big Ten Conference. But right now, I have them as a no in the NCAA tournament. Let's go to Indiana. Indiana, they've had some injury problems. I know Xavier Johnson was recently hurt. I don't know if he's back yet. They just last played. They just hosted Auburn on Saturday, lost 104-76. Yikes, brother. Yikes. I haven't watched a lot of Indiana basketball yet. So I won't sit here and say if they deserve to make it or not, but they are 7-3. Losing to Auburn like that is not great. They did beat Michigan, but Michigan's not – I'm not really impressed by Michigan. I'm not even sure if Juwan Howard will make it through the entire season at this point, considering the rumors that we've heard about him being out. They beat Louisville by 8. Louisville just lost outright to Arkansas State yesterday. I bet on Arkansas State to cover the 3.5. Should have taken the money line. They almost lost. They won by 9 against Wright State. Like, the Big Ten just really has not been very impressive at all. They beat Maryland. Okay, so you have a Big Ten win there, but they lost to Michigan, so they're 1-1 in conference. They beat Harvard by single digits. They got pounded by UConn at home. UConn's one of the best teams in the country, so whatever. It's just not impressive. The more we go through this, the more I'm just going to feel like I'm repeating myself over and over. It's like there's just nothing impressive about this conference. Let's go to a team that I guess has surprisingly been impressive. Wisconsin. Wisconsin, they lost by 10 to Tennessee. They lost to Providence, and but they pounded Virginia. I believe they were unranked at the time. Virginia was ranked at the time. Their most impressive win for sure is against Marquette. They beat Marquette on December 2nd, and then they followed that up with no letdown, beating Michigan State. They eventually got steamrolled by Arizona. Arizona is steamrolling everyone, it feels like these days. So two impressive wins, Marquette and Michigan State. And I say Michigan State's an impressive win because I feel like Michigan State is going to get it together eventually. I can't say that like this is like Tom Izzo's thing. Like this is what they do. They get it together at some point every year. But they better get it together fast because if they don't have any impressive non-conference wins, excuse me. So again, I should have mentioned Virginia too. So Wisconsin beat Virginia. They beat Marquette. They beat Michigan State. They don't have any bad losses. Maybe losing to Providence. I don't know. Losing to Tennessee is not bad, even though it was at home and lost by 10. I just witnessed Tennessee be really good. So yeah, Wisconsin's surprisingly been pretty good, and I don't know how to feel about it. God. Sorry. I've actually been kind of under the weather this week. God, this game went to second overtime. Furman is now losing by 5 points. It's 113 to 108. We need Furman to cover 7.5. Come on. Let's go to Purdue. Let's talk about the top team in the conference. Big of me to say, Greg Braggs. Big of me to say. Okay, Purdue, their first big test of the year was against Xavier, I guess. They won 83 to 71. They beat Gonzaga. I believe this is in the Maui Invitational. They beat Tennessee. They beat Marquette. I think all of this was in the Maui Invitational. Yes. Coming off that, they beat Texas Southern. Then they lost to Northwestern, like we talked about earlier. They beat Iowa, like we talked about earlier. They beat Alabama. It's a rebuilding Alabama team. And this Saturday, they got Arizona. That will be a very, very, very telling game on how good they are. Arizona, they're the number one team in the country for a reason. They have been incredible. So that'll be a fun one to watch if you're a college hoops degenerate or fan of just watching college basketball. Yeah, man. I felt like coming into this year, they're going to have a huge chip on their shoulder. They lost to Fairleigh Dickinson in the first round again as a 1 seed. They lost to a 16 seed. Matt Painter, he is an incredible coach. As much as his face annoys me, I kind of like him. 1, because he's a Cubs fan, and 2, because he's done it enough to. He's had enough successful seasons, winning seasons, to earn my respect. Man, Illinois is due to beat him, though. I need Illinois to beat them this year. So yeah, they are, if they play like they have in the non-conference, they should really only have to worry about Illinois if Illinois keeps playing the way they are, which is so crazy because 3 weeks ago I would have told you that Illinois is not great. Let's go to Ohio State, who, if you remember last year, Ohio State was, historically, it always feels like Ohio State's like a middling Big Ten basketball team. They'll have 1 or 2 years where like they get some big recruit, like an Evan Turner or a D'Angelo Russell or something, and they, find themselves as a 2 seed or a 3 seed in the NCAA tournament, whatever. Last year, they didn't even make the tournament. They were awful last year. So this year, coming in, Holtman might be on the hot seat if they don't do well, right? They did play in the Big Ten. Did play well in the Big Ten tournament last year, so maybe they're bringing some of that momentum in. Let's see, lost to Texas A&M at home. but they beat Alabama. Again, a rebuilding Alabama team, but Nate Oates is a good coach, in my opinion. They beat Santa Clara, which, in my opinion, is one of the better mid-major programs, but they beat them by 30, so, whatever. Their first Big Ten game, they beat Minnesota by 10, which just taking care of business. But then they lost to Penn State. Up in the air, man. Up in the air. I don't know what to think about Ohio State. And they're a lot like some of these other schools I've talked about already in the Big Ten. Like, it's kind of need to see more, but it's not impressive. Now, Nebraska, I do think they are on the come up. I do think Nebraska is on the come up, but I need to see more to fully believe it. Let's go through their schedule. They beat Lindenwood. They beat Florida A&M, whatever, beat Rider. So their first 4 games, they were against mid-major programs that they're obviously better than. They beat Oregon State, which is not impressive. They've not been good for a while in the Pac-12. They got pounded by Creighton. It was a Creighton revenge game because last year Nebraska beat them. But then they lost to Minnesota. But then they followed that up literally 4 days later, and they beat Michigan State. They've won the games that they're supposed to win mostly, right? They've had a soft schedule. They play Kansas State on Sunday, which I think will be a big test for them at least, right? I think that's a big test for them. They have North Dakota, South Carolina State coming up. And they have Indiana on January 3rd, getting into the Big Ten season. Outside of their loss to Creighton by 29, they look like a team that could be very tough. I don't look forward to when Illinois has to play them. I think they could be a very scrappy team. I think they're better than Iowa. I think they're better than Ohio State. That's where I feel like they're at least better than those programs right now. All right. Let's talk about when we talked about Michigan State a lot, but not actually looked at their schedule. They have to be the biggest disappointment so far, right? Michigan State? I would say so. They've also had a tough schedule. They opened the season against James Madison, got upset, lost 79-76. James Madison is now ranked. They've been ranked. They were ranked like the next week. Shout out to the Sun Belt, folks. So they lost to James Madison. I think by season's end, it probably won't be looked at as a bad loss. They lost to Duke, which they play that game every year, and I feel like Duke always wins that game. They beat Butler, Big East school. They only lost to Arizona by 6. And then, like I said, they lost to Wisconsin. They've lost to Nebraska. They're already 0-2 in conference. So they got to pick it up. They got Baylor on Saturday. That's a big game for them to help in their resume in the non-conference. Because they don't have any impressive non-conference wins. Their most impressive non-conference win, I guess, is against Butler. I guess. So this is a big game for Michigan State at home against number 6 Baylor. That'll be a big game. They got Oakland after that, Stony Brook, Indiana State, and then Penn State to start the Big Ten season. I expect them to be better. In general, I do. So I think they're an NCAA tournament team. Mac in the chat, he put this in there a while ago. How many Big Ten teams make the tournament? Well, I'm going to look at the conference right now, and what is it? Every year it's at least 6, 7 teams, right? Right? And sometimes I feel like it's too many. So Purdue, Illinois, Northwestern, I think those 3 for sure. Right now, I think for sure. And I do believe Michigan State. I think Michigan State is going to beat Baylor this weekend, and that will help them. And they will go and play better in conference. So I'll put Michigan State on there. So that's 4 teams. Wisconsin, they played well. So that's 5 teams. Maryland, who I have not talked a lot about yet. Maybe. maybe Maryland. They don't really have any impressive wins. They put up 40 points against Villanova. Yikes. Lost 57-40 against Villanova. Lost to Indiana. Lost to Penn State. So they're also 0-2 in conference already. They even lost to Davidson. Nothing impressive. I can't sit here and tell you that I think Maryland's getting in or deserves to get in. Michigan, You beat Iowa. I don't even know if Iowa's a tournament team right now. Nothing impressive. Lost to Oregon. Lost to Indiana. Lost to Texas Tech. You beat Stanford. Credit to you. You lost to Memphis. Memphis actually pretty good. Their most impressive win for sure is beating St. John's with Rick Pitino. But you beat St. John's and then you lost to Long Beach State, brother. Michigan. Sorry. No. I'm not a believer. Penn State is projected to be a team in the bottom of the conference this year. But they beat Ohio State. They beat they beat Ohio State, but they lost to Maryland. They're 1-1 in conference. Like, it depends on how good they are in conference. Lost at Texas A&M. I like their coach. The coach they got to replace Struberry was the VCU guy. VCU was a really good A-10 school the last handful of years. But I don't think he's going to be able to do it in year one. So right now I got, maybe Rutgers. I forgot about Rutgers. Rutgers is a fake Big Ten school. I always forget about them. Maybe Rutgers is that 6 team. Maybe. They lost to Princeton. They beat Georgetown with Ed Cooley's new coach. I don't know. They got pounded by Illinois. They beat Seton Hall on the road. That's kind of impressive. They lost to Wake Forest. There's nothing really impressive about their resume either. And losing to Princeton isn't the worst thing. I mean, Princeton went to the NCAA tournament last year. They're one of the better Ivy League schools. So, yeah, right now I can tell you 5 teams. All right, Purdue, Illinois, Northwestern, Wisconsin, and Michigan State. I think those 5 teams will get in. Ooh, Furman lost by 7. That's covering 7.5. Let's go. Let's go. We're 2-0 on the night, baby. Let's go. All right. Oh, we just did that breakdown of the entire conference in 20 minutes, guys. All right. So is Illinois and Purdue the top 2 teams in this conference? Yes. At this point, from what we've seen, for the schedules that both teams have played, yes. I think Purdue has played the toughest schedule. I think Illinois has played the second toughest schedule. And if they beat Mizzou, then I really will believe that they can have a really good shot to win this conference and maybe do some damage in the NCAA tournament if they have a good conference season, or at least get a good seed in the NCAA tournament. They played well enough. Illinois has played well enough in their non-conference that they can feel good about that going into conference season. Right? They lost to Marquette, but it was a close game at home, and Marquette was the number 5 team in the country at the time. They don't have any upsets against them. As bad as they played against Valpo, they won that game by fucking 23 points. They beat Southern. They beat Western Illinois. Again, all small schools. Doesn't matter. They just took care of business. I've listed multiple Big Ten schools who have lost games to schools like this that they should not be losing to. So, and I think the win over FAU is huge. Them beating Rutgers, and I have Rutgers as like they could get in still, but so far they haven't been impressive. Right now I got 5 teams in, maybe 6. If some other team that hasn't impressed me yet changes. This is a down year for the Big Ten. I think a lot of people knew that coming into the season, but hung tough with Tennessee. Yeah, I mean, take care of business against Colgate. Beat Mizzou. They got Fairleigh Dickinson after that, and then Northwestern comes to Champaign January 2nd. Back before they played Rutgers, I asked to go 3-2 over that 5-game stretch. So a 3-2 stretch against Rutgers, Florida Atlantic, Tennessee, Colgate, and Mizzou. They have a chance to easily outperform that because they beat Rutgers, they beat Florida Atlantic. That's 2 wins. They lost to Tennessee. Okay, so they're 2-1 right now. With 2 games to go, they could easily go 4-1. 3-2 is the worst possibility because I don't think they'll lose to Colgate. If they lose to Colgate, I don't even think you could call it irrational. I'll be angry. I will be angry. But if you beat Mizzou, a chance to go 4-1 over that 5-game stretch, which was better than what I was expecting. I was hopeful for 3-2. 3-2 is certainly possible. Certainly possible. Okay. Let me know your thoughts. I'm interested. You guys think who you think is going to win the Big Ten this year? Who are your top 3 teams in the Big Ten? As the biased Illini fan, I am not surprised to see Illinois in the top 5 of this conference because all Brad Underwood does is win in this conference. Have they done anything in March? No. Have they beat Mizzou like I want them to do? No. But he knows how to win in this conference. So we're 1-0 in conference right now, and we have some nice wins. A nice win against Florida Atlantic in the non-conference. And they've won the games that they're supposed to win. I can't complain about losing to Marquette at the time. I can't really complain about losing on the road at Tennessee. The bragging rights game at Mizzou will really be a big part of their resume going into March as far as seeding. So it'd be a really big confidence booster for the team and program overall if they beat Mizzou. So I look forward to that game next Friday, December 22nd at 8 o'clock at, I would assume, wherever their hockey team plays. I always forget where it's at. It's in St. Louis, that stupid, godforsaken city with a stupid baseball team that I hate. All right. This was fun, guys. Sunday, man, do I do a live stream for the Colgate game when the Bears are on? It'd be very big of me to do a live stream against Colgate when the Bears are on. It really would be. Really would be. We'll see. I probably will because it's trying to be consistent with this as much as I can. All right. So I appreciate y'all for hanging around. I appreciate the support that some people have sent. I wish I could have been here for the FAU game. Unfortunately, my full-time job took over for me or took time away, so I couldn't. So I wasn't here to celebrate that with you guys. But I'm hoping to be able to do a lot more of these games, especially once we get into conference. And I am going to do my hardest to be able to live stream and podcast right after the game against Missouri next Friday. So hit that subscribe button if you're new here and you enjoyed what you got. I put a link in the description to subscribe on Spotify if you like the audio version better. Yeah, this was a lot of fun, and I really do appreciate the support. So it means a lot. I tried to get Greg Braggs, who's a huge Purdue fan, to come on for the show tonight. So hopefully be able to get him on soon, especially before they play Purdue on January 5th, and do a little breakdown. Maybe come up with a little wager, between us 2 meatball fans. But yeah, I appreciate all the support again. We'll see y'all on Sunday, most likely. And again, if you don't follow me on Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok, it's the same handle as here on YouTube, Cody_CHGO. We'll talk to y'all soon, and ILL.